Welcome back to Everything All the Time. I'm Pat O'Brien. That's Court McCowan.
Everything.
And that's Gary Stromberg, who's a writer. He's just a beacon of recovery, and I love him. He's one of my he's one of my dearest friends. Do you know what threat prioritization is?
Well,
or a threat alert?
I know what a threat alert is.
Okay, here's a threat alert. I'm not going to tell the stories you tell when the mics are off.
Right.
Okay? But if you have Effortless and you put your stuff on the cloud and they handle it, there's threat alerts all the time. They'll let you know when someone's trying to get your information, trying to get into your stuff. They are about the best at getting your stuff up, out, in, and safe. Effortless.
I think the important thing is that you want it protected, and that's I like the word protection, because protection's good.
Yeah, I'm sure you use it a lot.
I use a lot of protection.
Gary Stromberg is here. He wrote The Harder They Fall. And what else now? You got a couple other books going on.
Feeding the Fame and Second Chances.
Well, how many times have you been on television? This is Feeding Fame, and that's Second Chances. By the way, we're the luckiest people in the world because we do get a second chance. Alice Cooper. He was on the Grammys last night with Hollywood Vampires. That's Cooper, Joe Perry, Matt Sorum, Johnny Depp, and Alice, and he was great. Alice been sober
a long time,
30 years. Yeah. I met Alice in the 70s, and I'll tell you a story. I was an Alice Cooper fan during the Welcome to My Nightmare tour. So I snuck up on his hotel room floor, just like me. I was just a complete nobody. I am now, too. But they just let me in, and I'm standing there like a fan trying to see Alice Cooper. Well, all of a sudden, this guy comes out of the shadows with a knife, like a OJ knife. Did I say that? Like a kitchen, no.
An OJ knife. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's an OJ knife.
He's racing towards Alice with this knife, thinking that Alice loved to die or loved pain. I tackled him. I was about 100 pounds. We're also brought to you by the Perrier, by the way. There's morons over there better call us and send a case over.
Yeah.
I tackled this guy to the floor, and they took him away. Years later, I'm playing golf with Alice, and I told him that story. He goes, "That was you?" I said, "Yeah, that was me." But you have an Alice Cooper story. I mean, he's in this book.
Well, it's not that as
dramatic.
Yes, not as dramatic. But Alice told me the story about the first night he performed sober, which was a major event.
And they all worry about that, by the way.
Alice was a beer drinker primarily. He wasn't a druggie.
Right.
He was a beer drinker, but he drank a lot of beer. I remember he used to play golf, and he would decide which clubs he could take out of the bag so that he could stuff more beer in it, which clubs he wouldn't need. That's how.
Good one.
I like that. Yeah.
But Alice, anyway, beer got caught up to Alice, and he just had to stop, and he was scared to death of stopping because he had no idea what it would be like to be Alice Cooper sober. Alice Cooper's a character that he created. And so he told me the first night that he performed sober, he had, knew that he was going on stage, and he knew he wasn't going to drink that day. So he went to the arena early, trying to get himself together and imagine what it was going to be like. And he said he spent the whole day pacing the floor, deciding what it was going to be like to be Alice Cooper sober for the first time. He went through the getting made up and putting on his leathers and his costume. And he said he walked out of that stage the first time, and he said just a total transformation took place that he didn't expect, had no idea was coming. He said the Alice Cooper previously that he had invented, the character, was kind of a victim. He said he always played it hunched over, and it was demonic, but he was a victim. Everybody was after him and beating up on him. He was helpless. And he said all of a sudden what emerged was this new character. He said I straightened up. I started walking with my head up and my chest out, and I was a totally different person when I was sober. And he said, I've been that character ever since. And he said the response that I got was absolutely unbelievable, and I had no idea it was coming.
And he's talented enough to still bring back the old Alice. I mean, you look at him now and you say, that's Alice Cooper. I mean, do a lot of comedians go through that too?
I think a lot of comedians...
Not to throw you into that bag.
No, but there's, I think more now there's comedians, there's not as much of that as you would think there would be. A lot of comedians, they might have a drink or they might do, but not that many comedians are really performing. We've had our losses, the Greg Giraldos, the Mitch Hedbergs,
John Candy,
Robin Williams and all those, but not as much. But I was interested in your book, you say, which I thought Alice talks about, which is that he was a beer drinker.
Yeah.
And then you had guys like James Taylor and all these other bands, the Monkees and some of the Mamas and Papas that were all junkies. So it was kind of like a weird, like you would have expected the hard the hard rockers,
Exactly.
to be the hard do the hard drugs, where you got a guy that's like, welcome
Like
to my
Alex
night pair
doing
is
beer.
drinking Coors Light
And playing golf.
and playing golf, where James Taylor, some of these like the lighter, call it lighter if you want, but more folkier people,
Mellow.
mellow.
Yeah.
I like that word, mellow.
Thank you.
The mellow people were the ones. Well, I guess it's because they're all on heroin. That's why they're so damn mellow. But
Well, they don't do it anymore, and they're still mellow.
yeah.
So
exceptionally mellow.
I played
then.
golf with Alice, and it's so great to actually say "nice shot, Alice," and actually mean it
Yeah.
in golf. Those golfers out there will know what I mean. He took his energy, Gary. You can probably confirm this. He told me that all the energy he took into beer drinking, which was, as you pointed out in the book, stacking beers, he put into golf, and now he's a real scratch. He's like a one or a two.
Yeah,
He's a scratch golfer.
Yeah. I tell you, there was something
He's
that
not a newspaper one or two either. He's a real one or two.
the thing that I find most interesting about all of these characters, all of these artists, is the idea that using something, whether it's beer, any drug that you name, is the thing that they do that makes it okay to go out and be who they are as a performer, as a writer, or as an artist. The idea that I'm not good enough, that I'm not whole, that I need these things, and that's where my creativity comes from, is something that's consistent in all the stories that I told. And the interesting thing in the transformation that these people go through who are sober for a long time is the coming to the awareness that my talent is my talent, and that the substances didn't make me who I am. They were what I used to,
Yeah.
prop me up and give me the courage to do it. But I had the talent all along, and it's really unusual because being an artist is a risky endeavor. Going like you, I'm sure you're going on stage. It's scary, man.
Well,
You're
I think
working
it's-
without a net. It's scary.
It's interesting too because especially in comedy, there is no band, there's no music to hide behind. It's just you and a mic. So you have
That's scary.
you have a little bit less. You have a little bit less. There's more of you exposed, and I think more. That's why I say more and more now, especially. You don't see as many people high or drunk. You just
Well,
can't
that's
do
good
it.
to
You
know.
can't pull it off.
Well, that's the whole thing about Dean Martin. He never drank.
It was always the illusion that he was.
the illusion, yeah.
And it's even like Carson. Like I saw one of the great interviews with Carson when he talked about the fact that he was a mean drunk. That he quit drinking for
Right.
years and years and years, but he was one of those guys that couldn't. It was like mean, and they used to start out kind of having a few cocktails. You watch the old Tonight shows when they really get like Bob Hope and Dean Martin, and you get all these guys on together. They're drunk. They're partying. they're having a good time, and they're,
Sure.
they're,
Well,
they're-
Ed was,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Ed. I have one good story about Ed McMahon, and this happened. This is 20.
He was
20
Johnny's sidekick.
25 years ago, I was in an acting class, and there was like, it's one of those kind of makeshift, rooms, whatever. So it had a door for one door that came on. It was actually where the stage was, and then there was a door where everybody else walked in. Well, Ed's bringing his girlfriend, who's like 22, to this
Of course.
thing. And then there's this group performing on the stage, doing a scene on the
Right.
stage during the middle of the class, and all of a sudden Ed just comes in the stage door. He's half in the bag, and he just kind of goes, excuse me, and he didn't even shut the door. He just kind of walked across the stage and then just kind of went and sat down by his girl, and it was just like, oh my god, and I laughed, I pissed myself. It was so funny.
Gary, thanks. Gary Stromberg, who wrote The Harder They Fall. If you get this book on Amazon or wherever you buy books, but it's really, really...
It's easiest to send me an email, GaryStromberg.com,
Gary
and I'll
Stromberg,
get you the book.
STROMBERG.
and I'll get you the book.
.com, and we'll get the book out to you. And he's also co-written again with Jane Merrill, Second Chances and Feeding the Fame. That's what I got to do to this guy every day. And this is about eating. No, I don't. I'm sorry. It's about eating disorders. And so those are all good. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Pat.
Good to see you. I love you.
I love you too, man.
And speaking of eating disorders, we'll talk about Adele when we come back.